Okay, so this is going to be part two of your instructions. If you remember from the first part, I told you just to predict the products and then balance the reaction, and then not worry about any of the rest of this. Now we're going to worry about the rest of it. So the first thing you're going to do is click on the YouTube link and watch the video. So here we have the reaction of, this is trial one, so it's barium chloride reacting with sodium sulfate. Okay, and so then we'll watch the video. They're not very long. They're all about between 15 and 40 seconds. So here we have barium chloride, and then there we have the sodium sulfate, showing you what that looks like. And then we dump them in the little beaker there. Oh, here, let's go back. Whoops. Ah, I'm not quick enough. Okay, and so then you see how it makes that sort of like cloudy mixture at the end? That's what's known in science as a precipitate. So you take two clear, transparent mixtures and you pour them together, and then when a cloudy mixture forms, when they're mixed, we call that a precipitate. It's kind of like how in weather, when there's precipitation, there's usually clouds up in the sky. At least that's how I think about it. So we've got this cloudy mixture. Now the clouds in here are actually solids. There's a solid forming in here. And we're going to try to figure out which one of the products of this reaction is the solid. So what we're going to do then is we're going to say yes, a precipitate formed, and again that's because of the clouds in there. And so then the next step is we're supposed to label the soluble products as aqueous, and we're supposed to label the insoluble products as a solid. So we need to determine which of these two products, remember one of our products was barium sulfate, the other one was sodium chloride. We need to figure out which one of them is aqueous, that means dissolved in water, right? Like aqua is water, aqueous means dissolved in water. And we need to figure out which product is a solid. That's the one that's forming the clouds in there. And we're going to determine that using a solubility chart. Now this is at the very end of your assignment. I give you this solubility chart. And so our first product is barium sulfate. And we're going to look on the chart for barium sulfate to see if that's soluble or insoluble. So first we're going to find barium. That's right here. So we're going to be looking at this column. And then we're going to look for sulfate, which is right here. And so we're going to be looking at this row. So if we see where sulfate meets barium, we get that red INSOL. That means insoluble. You can see you've got the key down here. Red means insoluble. So barium sulfate is insoluble. Insoluble products are the ones that are making the clouds. It's the ones that are forming a solid. So we're going to label this as solid, and we just do that by writing a little s on the underside. That's what I did here. I just wrote a little s. If we look at sodium chloride, well, sodium chloride's table salt. You can probably already guess that that's soluble, and the chart should confirm that. So if we take sodium, and then we go down to chloride, which is right here, we can see that that is in fact soluble. So that means that it'll dissolve in water, and so we're going to label that as aqueous, AQ. Okay, so let's just go through a couple of the other trials. Next up we have potassium iodide mixing with sodium chloride. So let's take a look here. Watch the reaction, see if any clouds form. So here we have the potassium iodide, and that's the sodium chloride. Dump them together, or Mr. Green dumps them together. And then if we look, what we should see is a clear solution. I don't see any clouds in there. I wish I had zoomed in a little bit more so you could see it a little bit better, but it'll be pretty obvious when there's clouds and when there's not. With this one, we also were experimenting with a laser here. With some of them, you can really see it well. This one, you can see the laser's off target, so it's not really showing anything. But when it's cloudy and you shine the laser on there, you can tell that the laser's not going through. And when it's transparent and you shine the laser on there, you can definitely see the laser go right through the graduated cylinder. So this one was definitely no precipitate formed. So then we're going to label the soluble products as aqueous. Well, if there's no precipitate, they're all soluble, so we don't even need to look at the chart. They're both going to be aqueous. You could look at the chart for potassium chloride and sodium iodide, but you would see that they're both soluble. So you don't really even need to look at the chart for this one, because when you watch the video, you see that it comes out clear. Okay, and so then next up is trial 3. So let's take a look at this one. Here we've got lead nitrate reacting with sodium hydroxide. Yep. And so here you can see this one's definitely forming a cloudy precipitate. And then look, when we shine the laser on it, it doesn't go through at all. It gets kind of, the laser itself is reflected by that cloudy mixture inside inside the beaker. Okay, and so then let's take a look at this one. Definitely a precipitate formed. Let's see if we can label the products as the soluble products as aqueous and the insoluble ones as a solid. So we're going to start off with lead hydroxide. So we're going to go up here, lead. You can see most of the lead ones are insoluble. So that'll probably give you a hint as to how this one's going to end up. Hydroxide, well, a lot of them are also insoluble, and definitely lead hydroxide is insoluble. So we're going to label lead hydroxide as a solid. You can see I put a little S on there. For sodium nitrate, let's take a look at that on the chart. Sodium, well, you can see all the sodium ones are soluble. And actually for nitrate, all the nitrate ones are soluble too. So sodium nitrate is definitely going to be soluble. And so we can label that one as aqueous. Remember, we label our insoluble products as solid and our soluble products as aqueous. And then remember, it's the insoluble products, those are the ones that are forming a solid. Those are the ones that are making it look cloudy, if you will. Okay, so go ahead and do that for the remaining trials. And then if you have any questions, be sure to ask me.